Hey everybody, Kristen here. I wanted to share something with you today that I am going through personally in my life. One of my clients recently said to me, she's a gal that was in a group with me, and she said, I want to know your story. I want to know your story. And I got a story. I got a story. And I've often said, I need to write a screenplay and turn it into some type of movie, some type of inspirational movie, or gosh, I just think it would be so validating to a lot of people because the experiences that I've had in my life have been so diverse. And it's no wonder that I became a life coach, because there's rarely anything that somebody can tell me that I can't relate to on some level. But when she said she wanted to hear more of my story, I thought, aside from writing a screenplay, it's a long story with a lot of intricacies and complexities, and not something that you can really just tell in an hour. But since something is happening right now, real time, in my life that is pretty interesting on the healing journey, I thought it might benefit you guys to hear it on some level. And if not, that's okay too. But I wanted to share what I'm going through at this moment. Some of you might know, if you've been following me for a while, if you've been following the Sweet Empowerment podcast or my YouTube channel for a while, you might know bits and pieces of my story. And a lot of my followers know me in person, so they do know a lot of my story. But in case you haven't, I had a brother. I had 4 brothers growing up, and I had one that passed away when he was 16 from a car accident. It was a single car accident that hit black ice. He hit his head, he had severe brain trauma, and it was a pulling the plug situation. His name was Henry. I was 11 years old at the time. I was in 6th grade. And as profoundly impactful that was to me, and as I grew up through life, just watching my parents and conversations we had, as it was to them as well. It was really horrific for my oldest brother, Jim, who was 19 months apart from Henry, and they were compadres. They were the best of friends. With that being said, just a little backstory that I've had a brother pass away already. Both of my parents passed away within 4 months of each other in 2015. And just last February 2020, my oldest brother, Jim, passed away from cancer. And I brought my tissue because I'm probably going to get emotional. I'll have to pause this video if that happens. And Jimmy moved out when he was about 18 years old. Jim did not do well with Henry's death. It broke his heart, and I believe it broke his heart for the rest of his life, because they were so close. But he moved out, and he moved to a neighboring town. He went to college up there, and he stayed up there, and he met the love of his life, and they had 3 children together. But what most people don't know about my oldest brother is that Jim was somebody who he never crawled when he was a baby. He just got out of a little swimming pool and walked at 9 months old. Didn't crawl. And this is typical Jimmy Gone. He doesn't crawl. He runs. And he makes things happen. So, being that I was quite young when he moved out, there's all those years of that I'm going to school and doing things and what have you, and there's no cell phones and we didn't call each other a lot, but we're very close in love and heart, and we got much closer as we got older because, we both had kids around the same time, and, family functions and this and that and the other, and we just really started developing a friendship later in life. So there's a big portion of his life that I was not privy to. And what I was trying to get to earlier was that Jim was an extreme rock climber. And I don't mean I'm pushy shit. I'm talking about 8 days taking to climb up El Capitan in Yosemite, sleeping in portaledges, going to the bathroom in plastic bags, hauling up 100 pounds of equipment, going from the base of the mountain, I've heard stories like it's 90 degrees, 100 degrees at the base, and they get to the top and it's 30 degrees or something like that. It's very, very cold. So all the clothes you have to bring in the interim. I mean, Jim was an extreme person. Jim decided to take up running, and he just started running one day, and he ran 9 miles, and he ran so far he didn't have the energy to get back and had to call his wife to come pick him up, this is Jim. Okay, it's a big person. I also got a lot of my music taste from him. Anyway, I've given you a lot of backstory as to my brother, but needless to say, just a bitchin' character on this planet. Just a really cool dude. And he had a lot of adventures that I wasn't privy to. Jim was a sailor. He sailed a lot. He was a rock climber. He later became a trail runner. He fished, canoed. He would canoe down the rivers here. I don't think it's called canoe. Kayak. Kayaked. I remember the first time that I ever went rock climbing with him. We went here at Camelback Mountain, and I was in my 20s. I cut all my nails because I knew I had to grab the rocks, and I didn't have any fancy shoes. I wore my Keds, and I was so excited to get a glimpse into Jim's world. And my cousins were in town for some holiday, and they went with us too, and a lot of them were older than me, and I just shimmied up those rocks because I had my eye on my brother. And the one thing you feel being with Jim gone is that he's got your back. He's got your back. You feel safe with him. He's like 5'10" and 135 pounds. He was skinny as a rail, and he was powerful. So we went climbing. You know, you do have to do the up portion, and then you do the rappel portion down. And he hooked me up, you know, with the waist thing and I don't know if you guys know, but you have a rope next to you that you can open up and it lets you go down. You can close it close to you and it stops you. And I remember when I looked, when I backed over the edge of the cliff, I just looked at my brother in the face and I said, "Am I safe?" He goes, "You're 100% safe, Chris. I got you." And I let go. And I let go in a big way. I didn't shimmy down the mountain. I did those leapy things that you see people do when they rappel, because I knew that my brother had me. I just knew it. All my other cousins were taking 30 minutes to get down the mountain, and they're older and male and trying to shimmy down the mountain, and I knew that I was okay. So this is a whole bunch of lead up to what I'm about to tell you. So after Jim passed in February, I was friends with some of his friends on Facebook, people who were in his life for a long time, and you just happen to accumulate friends. But I had made a really special post about it and tagged him, and more people came out of the woodwork, and I got to hear some really cool stories about Jim. Because what I was trying to lead to earlier was that he's got this whole portion of his life. There's so many stories that I just don't know. And I loved his stories. When Jim would tell a story, I was glued. I don't care if it was in the middle of Christmas dinner. I'd be like mid-bite, just couldn't wait. And he would only tell him once or twice. Jim was not a boaster. And if I'd come back to him later, some months later, and say, "Hey, Jim, would you tell me the story again about whatever?" And he just didn't really, he wasn't a boaster, but he loved to tell about his adventures. So he had some really, really close friends. And one of them's name's Bob. He has a lot of them, but in this story, it has to do with Bob and Rand. And I'm friends with them on Facebook, and they've been around for decades. They're his homies. And when you do the type of adventures that these guys do, you got to have homies like this. You got to have homies that freaking have your back, and you know it. And aside from hearing the little bits of stories that people would tell on Facebook, in a little box this big and typing with their thumbs, I just felt myself so thirsty for more of his stories. And I wanted to, just in my mind, I didn't put anything forward in motion, but in my mind, I really, really wanted to reach out to some of his friends and say, "Can we get together for coffee? I'll drive up to Payson. I'll drive to Flag, whatever. I just want to get together. Just want you guys to talk about Jim. Just tell me stories. But again, I didn't put anything into motion yet. I just, COVID, life, homeschooling, blah, all that stuff. But today, I think I just put it out into the universe. Not today. I had just put it out into the universe. But today, I woke up to a Facebook message from Bob. And he said, Rand and I are in town. We're taking a rest day from climbing. Would you like to meet at La Fonda? And La Fonda is a Mexican food restaurant here that was on the corner near our house growing up. Thing's been there forever. I mean, it's got to be 50 years, 40 years that thing has been there. And he goes, would you like to meet us for lunch or dinner? And I was like, I mean, I can't even express to you. I cannot even put it into words. I was, thank you, universe. Because when you put things out into the universe, if you relax and let go, it comes back to you. So thank you, universe, for setting this up. And I have just been walking around today with a mixture of feelings. One being, those tears stinging behind your eyes, but you're not really sad, but you kind of feel some emotion welling up inside of you. And I just don't cry easy for some reason. I don't just go, burst into tears. I'm not that guy. But I feel that coming, and this is as I'm running my errands and doing my thing. I can just feel this emotion welling up inside of me. And I texted my girlfriend. I was like, oh my God, I get to meet with Bob and Rand today. Because it's not just, it's probably the same thing they feel meeting with me. I'm meeting with a piece of Jim. They're a part of him. Probably as much as I feel to them that I'm a part of Jim. And I get to meet with them tonight over some really tasty Mexican food and hear some stories. Some cool ass stories. Because these guys didn't do things halfway. These guys didn't do things wimpy. It was full on. But they all lived with the same moral code and the same zest for life. Seize the day, seize the moment, love big. Take advantage of every moment. Be in nature. That's their church. Now, they've never said that. I'm saying that. That's their Zen. That's their gig. You can't be out here in La La Land when you're climbing I don't even know how many thousand feet rock face. You're laser focused in. So, for what it's worth, you guys, I got my own stuff that I deal with. I love being your coach and your mentor and your cheerleader and inspiring you to do more, to heal yourself, to stretch, to grow, to think bigger, but mostly to know your worth. I love it. I'm on fire. I'm inspired. I have an inspired mission to help as many men and women as I possibly can to step into their worth and to experience the best life they can possibly experience. And in doing so, I want you to know I'm human too. And I got a lot of junk that I deal with too. But I've also started to look at life some 10, 15 years ago, maybe even longer. It changes you when your brother dies, when you have a trauma that huge when you're 11 years old. But I start to look at life as these challenges as stepping stones to healing, to growing, to evolving my soul, to making me a more rounded person, to grounding me, to make me more love. I'm more love because of this. Because one of the things that people say to me a lot is, you're the only person I've ever told this to, Kristen. Because I know you won't judge me. And I know you won't tell anybody. And I don't. Because I've been most everywhere that most people have been emotionally. There is no new story. We've all felt the same emotions. I guess there's no new emotions. We've all felt the same emotions. Our stories are just a little different. So in sharing this with you guys today, I don't have a problem being vulnerable. I don't have a problem being honest. I'm an open book. I really don't. Because I don't judge my story. I don't judge my life. I don't judge me. Because I know we're all human. But I hope that sharing this glimpse into my life, first, maybe my story validated you in some way. Maybe you've got these same type of experiences going on. But you can see how universe came in, God, to help me. Just something that is in part of my next best step. I got some trauma on my past. Some traumatic things. And I know that this is a release. What do you have in your past that's traumatic? And it doesn't need to be traumatic on anybody else's scale. It just needs to be register on your traumatic scale, because we're all different. What might bum somebody else out may be a cakewalk for somebody else. We're all different. But I'm healing the sadness, the loss, and I'm choosing to celebrate the life of Jimmy Gone, my bro, one of my first heroes. Number one. Number two, I know that anytime people gather in love like this, it changes the world. Love is the most powerful force in the universe, and it resonates out. It can't not. It is the most powerful force in the universe. The three of us tonight are going to meet with love. That whole restaurant's probably going to be aglow. You probably see it from the Hubble telescope. If you look down at her, you'd see the La Fonda glowing. But also because I want you to learn to be open with your story. What do you got going on? It's okay. You're human. We're all human. This life is weird AF. It is weird. Stuff happens. So I hope this story touched you somehow today. I feel better sharing it. I feel a little bit of a release sharing it. I'm glad that you guys can be the recipients. Be my sounding board. Be my safe place to share my heart. Thank you for caring about my heart enough to watch this. All right, you guys. I love you. Remember, you matter.